And I named that a sweet little song because I think it's one that is now special to me, and it wasn't before. But I hope it'll be special to you. Now, I'm going to ask that you forgive me. I'm getting older, and so I like to reminisce. So just bear with me. This is a little booklet that came out in the 1950s. My dad worked for John Hancock Insurance, and they used to have these annual Christmas meetings that they bring all the family together. And they handed out these little booklets. And it had Christmas carols in it. It was just a sweet little booklet. My family absolutely cherished it. And part of the reason that it was cherished is because of the setting that this booklet came up in. You see, we lived in Illinois at the time when I was quite young. We lived across the river from St. Louis and Cahokia, Illinois. And some of my grandparents, her parents, and some uncles and aunts lived over, I believe it was in Florissant, St. Louis. We all got together every Christmas Eve. And that was always such a nice time. We'd get some presents and everything. But when we left, we were going back to Cahokia. And we were going back to get in bed to await Christmas morning. It was just, to be able to describe, maybe you have similar feelings, to be able to describe that's kind of tough. It's just a really good feeling. And we would sing, my parents were singers. We would sing just about all the way back home. A real highlight of that trip was, and I can't find reference to it, there was an intersection that we would cross going home, and on the diagonal was a display. It was an old riverboat display, and there was an animated Santa that was standing up there waving at everybody that came by. It was a highlight of the trip because Christmas was certainly here. And I tell you that boring story to say it's funny how something so simple. Just a minute. Now something so simple just flooded me when I thought about it and I looked it up. It just flooded me with intense feelings, warm, touching feelings. And I'm sure that you have things like that in your life too. Maybe something very simple. As this is very simple. I no longer have a copy of this. I don't. It may be in my mom's house, and it's probably very tattered if it is. But I'm going to tell you, someday I'm going to get that, Mike. I want to talk about how things affect us. And I'm going to play this little video, and then we're going to talk briefly about it.
He knows how to take your pain and make it glad. He knows how to heal you when you feel the sad. He knows how to wipe your tears and make you laugh. He's a good God, yeah. He knows how to take your pain and make it glad. He knows how to heal you when you feel the sad. He knows how to wipe your tears and make you laugh. He's a good God, yeah. Mighty good
God, yeah. He knows how to give you what you don't have. He knows how to love you when you feel sad. He knows how to be your mother and your dad. He's good.
God, yeah.
Mighty good.
God, yeah.
He will help you if you only let him in your heart.
they were on their way to church. But that's the way I'm going to see that video, because he was wearing a jacket, and I think that's where they were headed. And what do you think their attitude was when they got to the church building? They were ready, weren't they? They were prepared. They had already, as a family, engaged in recognizing that God is a good God. And we're going to pick up our study, Parenting by the Psalms. We're in lesson 12. We've got one after this. And we're going to be on Psalm 121. And it's entitled, Lift Up Your Eyes. This psalm is a part of a collection of psalms run from Psalm 120 to 134 that are referred to as the Songs of Ascent. Now, what do we mean by the Songs of Ascent? 3 to 4 times a year, Jews would make their way to Jerusalem, to the temple. And I think what's portrayed here is probably Herod's temple, and we talked about that before. On the right, you actually see the archaeological exposure, and this is called the Pilgrim's Way. On the left, you see the path, the Pilgrim Way path that goes up to the temple, and in the middle, you see these people walking up these steps, getting up to the temple, and they're singing. They're on their way to church, and they're singing. Now, I want you to bear with me. I'm going to play another video. And the first part of this video, we're going to rely on our brother Ken to tell us what he's saying, because it's in Hebrew. But then there's an English part. Just wait for it. And I want you to remember, this is what they were singing on their way to Jerusalem and the temple.
Esainai El Ehari Me'aim Yavo Esri Esri Me'in Adonai Oseh Shamayim Ba'aretz El Yatin Lamotrak Leka El Yanum Shomreka Hine Lo Yanum Alo Isha Shomer Israel. I lift up my eyes unto the hills, from which shall come my help. My help is from the Lord God, Maker of heaven and earth. He will not give to the moving of your foot, nor shall slumber he who keeps thee. Behold, he'll not slumber, nor will he sleep. He who keeps Israel.
In my mind's eye, I have that voice. In actuality, not so much. Let's read Psalm 121. And I'm gonna follow the convention that I've been using, where I read in the English Standard Version, and then I go to the easy to read version. My help comes from the Lord, a song of ascents. I lift up my eyes to the hills. From where does my help come? My help comes from the Lord, who made heaven and earth. He will not let your foot be moved. He who keeps you will not slumber. Behold, he who keeps Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is your keeper. The Lord is your shade on your right hand. Now the easy to read. I look up to the hills, but where will my help really come from? My help will come from the Lord, the creator of heaven and earth. He will not let you fall. Your protector will not fall asleep. Israel's protector does not get tired. He never sleeps. The Lord is your protector. The Lord stands by your side, shading and protecting you. The sun shall not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will keep you from all evil, but he will keep your life. The Lord will keep your going out and your coming in from this time forth and forevermore. The sun cannot harm you during the day, and the moon cannot harm you during the night, or harm you at night. The Lord will protect you from every danger. He will protect your soul. The Lord will protect you as you come and go, both now and forevermore. And that come and go may be a reference to going to war. The Lord will protect you as you come and go, both now and forever. Well, we had a tradition in my family that we had a little song that we would sing on the way to church. It was, "Get in the car. We're going to be late. Did you get your Bibles? What are we having for lunch? You can't wear that to church. Did you brush your teeth?" And I'm sad to tell you that that was played out week after week. Instead, let's look at the things the psalmist spoke about. Now, I told you that this was Song of Ascent and that they were traveling to Jerusalem. So they got in their car, they got the air conditioner on, they got the entire family in the car, and they just drove a couple hours to Jerusalem. No. No, indeed. Their travel was a bit more challenging than merely getting in the car. Clear dangers from which protection was needed. Overland travel by foot, the heat of the day and the cold of the night. There were also robbers and marauders. So travel was not just a piece of cake. We tend to view travel in a physical perspective. But I want you to challenge yourself. We are all on the road of life. And I believe everybody here has a desire to follow God on that road to life. Well, we've talked about the occasion for song and the emotions of songs. Now let's turn to the more important aspect. And I love songs. Y'all, if you know me, you know that I love songs. But I love the words of songs more than I love songs. So let's focus on the words of Psalm 121. This is going a lot faster than I thought, Millie. The writer had the challenges of travel on his mind, and he asked, "From where does my help come?" Now, when he asked that, where are they going? To Jerusalem. What are they going to do when they get to Jerusalem? Go to the temple. What did the temple mean to them?
It meant the place where God was.
The place where God was. And do you think was important to them? Do you think that was a cherished part of their heritage, Israel? It did, but the author asked an important question. From where does my help come? And he doesn't say from my Jewish heritage. He doesn't say from the beautiful temple that this reprobate Herod built for us. He didn't say, this is one of the wonders of the current world. He doesn't say any of that. He recognizes that that's just a building. And yes, they thought God was there. And that's who they're going to be with, is their God. Not the brick and mortar, not the stones. All that was probably important to them. And it's kind of like that little booklet's important to me, but it wasn't Christmas. It was pointing to Christmas. We turn to God who made the hills and everything else in heaven and on earth. Now, why is that important for us in terms of parenting our children? And when I say that, I'm going to reiterate, we're not just talking about our children, we're talking about, in this class, we're talking a lot about our grandchildren, but we're talking about our nephews, our nieces, our neighbors' kids. We're talking about the children that come here with their parents. So, why is that important that they understand that as we travel, we turn to God who made the hills and everything else in heaven and on earth? Is that something we teach? Is that something we want to teach our children? It's not really in vogue right now, is it? What's in vogue now are all these self-help things, all these pseudoscience, psychology and philosophy and all that. And that, you know, who you really need to rely on in life is yourself. We turn to God. And that's a hard turn sometimes. That's been a difficult turn for me, and maybe you, that we turn to God. We put it in God's lap. We rely on God and we trust in God. If we could get that across to our children at a young age, that can make all the difference to them in their life. Psalm 123 says, "To you I lift up my eyes, O you who are enthroned in the heavens. Psalm 124, our help is in the name of the Lord who made heaven and earth. Now, I'm getting older, and I have to be more careful. Mike, you're not there yet. I have to be more careful where I put my feet. Even, Walter, on level ground, I have to be careful where I put my feet, because to fall is not a good thing. Now, I'm not old, but I'm older. And to fall is not a good thing. What kind of terrain were they traversing?
Uphill.
It was uphill, but what else about it?
Rocky.
Rocky. It was tough going. You know, if you take a hike out of the state park, you know, some of those trails are a little challenging, aren't they? So, he won't allow our foot to slip. What do you think that's referring to? He won't allow us to fall. Now, is that talking about he won't allow us to physically fall down and I can't get up? No. He's talking about he keeps us close. He protects us. And he will guard our going out and coming in. Imagine that it's World War II You've been drafted, you've gone through training, and you're about to go overseas to engage in combat. God's with you. Doesn't mean everything's going to be peachy keen, but God is with you, and we want to teach our children that. So what does that mean to us and how we relate our children to God? Well, there's some important questions that our author posed. Who will help me when I fall? Who will help me when I get tired? Who will help me when I might get burned? Those are all questions that children want the answer to. We have a keeper who will not let you fall. Psalm 121, verse 3, he will not let your foot be moved. And you know, we understand what's being taught there in the physical world. You watch a toddler beginning to walk. How many times do they fall? Get right back up. Or as we struggle with balance, as we age, we understand not falling. Falling is not a good thing. Yet in our faith, in our walk with Christ, we stumble from time to time. Probably some more frequently than others, but we all stumble from time to time, don't we? But God will not let us fall. What does that mean to you? What does that mean to you when I say we stumble, but God will not let us fall?
Even when we turn our back on God, He's always there for us, no matter what.
He's always there. He's ready for us to come to Him.
Right.
He's ready to not only forgive us, but to redeem us. He's ready to put value back in us. Okay? So, He helps us up, Harold, dusts us off, gives us a smile, and walks with us. Okay? Psalm 121:7, the Lord will keep you from all evil. He will keep your life. Now that's pretty direct, isn't it? That's pretty specific. And do you believe that or not? Because if you don't believe that, it's going to be real tough for you to teach that to the young people, isn't it? The Lord will keep you from all evil. Does that mean we're going to never stumble? No. But we know we know where we're going, don't we? We're going to make it to the temple in Jerusalem, okay? We are going to live a life in our God. And He's going to keep us from evil. He will keep your life. That's a great thing, folks. That's a thing that we want to pass on to our children. We all mess up. But we turn to God and do not fall. Now those mess ups can vary. And we've had, sometimes in our family, we've had people make some pretty big mistakes. We've had people that have to suffer the consequences of those mistakes. And the thing that we try to get across to our grandchildren is we all mess up. Look, I think I told you a couple of weeks ago, my oldest grandson, Hayden, who I love, he was at our house. He was in the foyer of our house, and he was being rambunctious. And he knocked something over, and it shattered. It was glass. Jennifer, he was unconsolable. He was, and you know why? Because they're not going to love me. So Pam, mainly, and me, we took him aside and said, son, you are more important than anything in this house. We will never stop loving you. Does God do that for us?
Yes.
We mess up. We need to tell our children it's not okay that you mess up, but when you mess up, you're still loved. You're still, in our eyes, you're still wonderful, perfect. Okay? We need to, and I put an emphasis on that because I'm not certain we've done as good a job in my family. We need to teach our children that we all mess up. It's not to say that you want to go out and do that just to, you know. I remember I was telling Josh about how poorly I did my first attempt at college. And I thought, well, that'll inspire him to know that you don't want to do that. Josh in turn said, here, Dad, hold my beer. And he showed me how bad you could do in college. Now, not this past August, but the August before last, that same boy, that same man, working full-time offshore, completed his BS degree online. So, and I'm not equating college with our life in Christ, don't think that, but we mess up. We mess up. Also, we have a keeper that does not sleep. 121:3. He will not let your foot be moved. He who keeps you will not slumber. Behold, he who keeps Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. Anybody in here ever been tired? Anybody in here ever been sleepy? Anybody in here during physics class have to stand at the back of the room so that if you fell asleep, you'd at least bust your nose and that would wake you up? We all get tired. We all get sleepy. Garden of Gethsemane. The Garden of Gethsemane. People fell asleep. Dear, cherished people. Do we and our children sometimes struggle with sleep when faced with difficulty? Yeah. Look, when my dad was dying, I had stayed with Mom the night before, all night long. The next day, Dad is getting worse. My brother and sister are there, and we're all standing around his bed as he gasped. And I went and sat down because I was tired. My eyes closed. I don't think I was totally asleep, but my eyes closed. And my dad passed away. We all get sleepy. We all get tired. We all sometimes let other people down. I find when Pam gets stressed, Pam goes to sleep. I hate her for it, but Pam goes to sleep. When I get stressed, I'm all night long. And I play things over and over and over in my mind. We need to somehow condition our children to be more like Pam. We and our children need sleep, and we need protection when we're vulnerable, which includes when we're sleeping. Now, how many of you were, when you were growing up, said your prayers before you went to sleep at night? Mom and Daddy or somebody would come in, sit on your bedside, and what was the prayer that was always prayed? Do you remember? Huh?
Now I lay me down to sleep.
Now I lay me down to sleep. And I prayed the Lord my soul to keep. How's it go after that? Huh?
If I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take.
I never really understood that. I understand it today. Okay? We and our children need sleep, and we need protection when we are vulnerable. which includes when we are sleeping. Do kids have big problems? They may not be big to us, but they're big problems. Do they worry and fret? Yes. We and our children need to take comfort in the fact that God will be up, working on our problems, even when we sleep. It isn't always up to us. Let me rephrase that. It isn't always up to you, Wayne, to solve all the problems in life. You can't do it. Let God do that. And we need to teach our children that they don't have to saddle themselves with every problem in life. Give it to God. A keeper that shades. Now, given this summer's heat, I think we can all probably relate to Psalm 121, can't we? The Lord is your keeper, the Lord is your shade on your right hand. The sun shall not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. They're out in the elements, aren't they? This probably wasn't a one-day trip for them, was it? So by day, they dealt with the heat and the sun, and by night, probably by cold. Now, again, that may have other references that I'm unaware of, but for me, I'm just, in that context, is the way I think of it. Whereas the physical heat is a problem for walking travelers, God provides us on our journey of life with spiritual rest and relief. God provides us on our journey of life with spiritual rest and relief. How does that happen in your life? How has that happened in your life? Can you think back to things in your past or in your immediate time where you took solace in God? Where you heard that they're there from God? You know what I'm talking about, Walter? It's going to be okay. And you take peace in knowing that I may be going to jail. My life with this woman is falling apart. My children are estranged to me. God provides on our journey of life with spiritual rest and relief. We don't have to solve every problem, folks. We can give those problems to God. Now, God is not a genie in the bottle. It's not, and I've said this too many times in here, oh Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes-Benz? Okay? You're too young for that. You don't know what I'm talking about. But we know, don't we, us older people.
Give me one of these.
Huh?
Give me one of these.
So, I've asked you already what that means to have spiritual rest and relief. Where do you find comfort? Is it singing a song that relates, that's about God? Is it going and spending time reading God's Word and contemplating God's Word? Is it going in a closet, sitting on a chair with the lights out, and having a conversation with God? We need to find those places. We need to find where we get our spiritual rest and relief. We need to know those places so that we can use them. We need to help our children identify those places. And that's kind of a heady concept, isn't it? But it's one that we need to try to teach best of our ability. Ever feel as though you're beat down by life? Ever feel as though you're at the bottom of the barrel? And I'm not just talking about what kids sometimes feel. We feel too, is everybody hates me, nobody likes me, think I'll eat some worms. We're talking about not only that, but more serious problems. ever feel as though you've messed up so bad that you are not worth anything? That's what my grandson Hayden felt when he knocked over a vase or something in our foyer. Do you think our children have these same feelings? Do you think sometimes they feel worthless? It's incumbent upon us to let them know that never happens. That absolutely never happens. It is so important for us and them to know that we seek shade in God. That is, we find refuge in the shadow of the Almighty, Psalm 91:1. Do y'all understand that? Do you actively do that in your lives? We have a help that lasts forever. Psalm 121 reminds us of God's love and protection, and equally important that God's help lasts from this time forth and forevermore. Excuse me. He's our helper, we find in verse 1 and 2. He's our maker in verse 2. He's our keeper, verse 5 and 7. He's our shade, verse 5. Our protector, verse 7. And then to top all that off, he's our eternally vigilant guard, verse 8. Always there, always ready, never asleep, always wanting the best for us. Always. What better gift could we give our children than to have assurance in that fact? So, this is going to be a short class. Epilogue. I want to impress upon you, those of you who have children, and way in the back, those that may someday have children, and I know he's listening to me, it is important that we teach our children Psalm 121. Not as rote memorization. Not as rote memorization per se, but as an anchor in life. Fill them with song. Wouldn't it be good when we're feeling stressed for this song to come to our mind? These words, these assurances, wouldn't it be good for us? And the reason we put things in song is because it's easier to remember, isn't it? That's the purpose of song. And wouldn't it be good to have Psalm 121 to sing on the way to church? We prepare ourselves. Teach them to be willing and eager to ask for God's help. We get prideful. We get prideful. Even at a young age. I have a grandson that he is, he's going to do it his way, and he does quite often. He is full of energy and rambunctiousness. I love him to death. He's our red-headed grandson. But I want him to know that things are going to come up in life that are beyond his control, beyond his ability to fix. And he needs to know that not as a last resort do we go to God, but we go to God at the very beginning. And that's a hard lesson to learn because we're proud. Yeah, I got this problem, but, you know, I was raised by Ed and Johnny Wyatt. I know how to fix things, Mike. Boy, has that been a hard lesson for me to learn. I'm not very good at fixing things. We need to be willing and eager to ask for God's help as a routine, not as an emergency, but as a routine. We need to learn to go to God every day and throughout the day asking for his help. We need to teach our children to do that. When times are tough, encourage them to press on in faith, knowing God will give them sure footing. Yeah, you're going to go to school. This same bully's going to make fun of you, make life miserable. But you are God's child, and God will protect you. Remind them to rest well, because God is always awake. You don't have to stay up and fret about things. And I know some of us struggle with sleep. What a blessing it would be to just say, good night, God. See you in the morning. And I know that's difficult for some, because there's things that go on. But wouldn't that be a blessing to us? Promise them that on the most severe days of their life, God will provide protective shade. Now, that doesn't mean He's going to give you an air conditioner, Walter, but He's going to shade you. Okay? Assure them that God is their helper and keeper always. We need to give them that assurance. And you can look at the world today, and you can see parents, well-meaning, good parents, raising their children, but they're not giving them that assurance that God is their helper and keeper. So we have that responsibility, don't we? We have that responsibility, Walter, with our grandchildren. We have that responsibility, Ken, with our great-grandchildren. We have that responsibility, Megan, with your children. We have that responsibility, don't we? We have an important influence in these kids' lives. We need to make sure we mention God to them all the time. They need to hear us, Millie, we're in the garden singing praises to God. They need to hear us when we go down the road, maybe to go fishing, singing praises and talking about our God. Am I saying be a Jesus freak? Absolutely. We don't have to be weird about it, but absolutely. Is God important to us? Is God our sustainer? Is God our protector? What else would you want to share with your children than that? Most important thing we do. Look, we have teen programs and all that, and that's all very good, and it's been fruitful. But sometimes we're a day late and $1 short. We need to start with our young children. Now, I'm not trying to put a bite on anybody, but we need to look at our Sunday school program and our Wednesday night program for our children, and we need to think about maybe that model doesn't work anymore, but we still have that responsibility, each and every one of us. So, if you have the ability to teach and be with them, then take that ability and use it. Okay? And I'm not trying to put a guilt trip on anybody. I know we've been talking about we need teachers and stuff, but think about that. Think about it. Well, that concludes my lesson. What's y'all's feelings about that? I want to challenge you, because Pam and I are trying to come up with one. We are going to have a Let's Go to Church song that we sing from the time we leave the house to the time we get here to prepare us. We're struggling a little bit as to what that song would be. Not just when our children or our grandchildren are with us. We want to sing it ourselves so that it's natural when they're with us. So they will hear Gran and Granddad singing about God and preparing themselves on the way to church. Psalm 121. How did they prepare themselves to go up to the temple? They sang songs. So my challenge to you, pick a song. Pick a song. It needs to be an easy song. I don't think that my grandkids could relate to, "A Mighty Fortress Is My God." I mean, I love that song, but I don't think that's a good choice for us. And we thought about "We're Part of the Family." That's a great little song, but it's maybe too hard for children. "God Is Good." That's a real good song for us to begin singing. So I'm going to challenge you next Sunday or even Wednesday night, when you're getting ready to come, sing a song. If you don't remember the words, God knows the words. Don't worry about it. Hum through those parts. Okay? But sing a song. Sing a song. Any questions? Any comments?